Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Single and Married with Ezzy. I am so excited to have you because today is a really special episode. Today, I have with me the newest author in town in the person of Peter Obiefuna. I actually call him Uncle P. He wrote the new book, When Love is a Scam. And hang in there. We are coming. We're going to tell you more about the book and all of the good things about this book. But today is really special because I have the author here and we are going to be talking a lot about the book and getting some wisdom, nuggets, knowledge for singles, couples, families, for everyone. So I encourage you to sit tight, make yourself comfortable, and let's dive in. Now, if today is your very first time of joining me, my name is Ezzy. I am a mom, a pastor's wife, and I enjoy talking about relationships. I have authored 2 books, Relationship Smart, Love, Courtship, and Marriage, and Brighter Days, 100 Thoughts of Hope, Love, and Blessings. So like, share, subscribe, and dial in your friends to watch this episode with you. But we're going to dive right in to my guest today, Uncle P, Dr. Peter Obiefuna, author of When Love is a Scam. Welcome, Uncle P.
Thank you, Izzy, and thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So we are so excited and we are going to dive right in. Now, when I look at the title of this book, it is easy for someone to wonder, what, scam? I'm not being scammed. I'm not scammable. So tell us, what does the word scam mean on this title?
Thank you, Izzy. That's a good question. A question I get quite often. People will say, "Is love a scam?" I'm like, not really. The book is talking about something else, but the scam is more like an acronym to help start conversations, to help draw attention. Scam actually means subtle concealment of actual motives. So the full title will be When Love is a Subtle Concealment of Actual Motive. A better way of knowing the meaning of scam is to read the subtitle, which is
Subtle Hidden Motives That Disadvantage Good People in Relationships.
Exactly. So the book's approach is to support the good person and show how the good person is disadvantaged when somebody comes to them in love, but it's not coming correctly. It's coming with hidden agendas. It's coming with pretense. It's coming acting as if they mean this, all this esoterical, rose-colored glass introduction of love, but they really had other intentions. So the book talks about how to identify that, how to address that, and how to set boundaries and have expectations and reclaim love for what it really should be for you.
Wow. Awesome. That's amazing. In fact, that answers a little bit of my other question, because when I looked at the dedication, it said it was being dedicated to that person who is being undermined. So dedicated to the one who was, written for the one who is or will be undermined, for whom is not yet late to reclaim love. So if you've been undermined in a relationship, you've been hurt, you've been, taken advantage of, this book is for you. Or even if you are in a healthy relationship, this book is also for you to help you check your motives, check your everyday motives, right? And how you're showing up. Tell us more a little bit about the dedication.
Thank you. Usually the dedication page is addressed to somebody, usually a named person. And even though the book is not just for them, it's dedicated either to their struggle or cry or calling out to them, sometimes even in memoriam, to say, I see you, I felt your struggles. You motivated me to write this book so that some of your sufferings do not repeat. And those who may be going through that would learn from your experience. If you look at the first lines, dedicated to the one who was, past tense.
Yeah.
But the person who was is probably too late because they are
Yes.
dead. And that was my mom and the people like her who married way too early to understand love and got undermined in various ways and were powerless to reclaim love. It's dedicated to her. Dedicated to people who are people who show up in our counseling rooms, yours and mine, and you see what they go through and you pray for them. It's also dedicated to them. And the ones who will be, because we are going to remain humans for a very long time to come. And one of the side effects of being human is that we mess up a little. And the people who will be undermined in future, the book is also dedicated to them. And the purpose is not to start a gender war or some kind of social war. It's so we can identify the scams and to be able to reclaim love.
For what it really
is.
Thank you so much. In fact, when you started to talk about that, I felt some goosebumps there, about who was, right?
Yes.
And these things are real and these things happen every day. So thank you so much for this book. Now we're going to jump right in. I want to know what are for a young single person who is looking to who is dating or looking to get into marriage, what are some of those subtle signs or those red flags that a person can see that can make them, that they should know that, look, pause, be careful, something is not quite right? What are some of those things that they may need to be careful about?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a really hard question.
Okay.
Because AZ is asking me to condense the problem of man and woman in a 2-minute answer.
Not possible.
But let me try and say this. The first thing I'll have to say is that the new person trying to fall in love or feeling that they are in love or in love is the one that is the least difficult to say to watch out and be careful.
Okay.
But that is the time to watch out and be careful the most.
Okay.
I want to argue that being in love and being wise are not antithetical to each other. In fact, I want to propose that only the wise fall in love.
Okay, tell me more.
The foolish just get played.
Okay.
Yes. And being cautious about what it is you are feeling and grounding it to things are going to be a problem in future. Okay. Are the right ways to fall in love wisely.
Okay.
One of the red flags will be when somebody begins to notice some things, and then the only way they can cope with it is to say, he's going to change. She's going to change.
Okay.
But it's going to become better.
Okay.
Oh, you see this thing he's doing? When I have a baby for him, or when I get her pregnant, she's going to calm down and do this or that. I want to suggest that when you meet somebody and you love them and you see some signs, those signs, the trajectory of them tend to be worse, not better. On the average.
On the average.
People change. People There are testimonies of changed lives every day. Mine is one, and there are millions of others out there who give testimonies of changed lives for the better. But the statistical trajectory is that little thing you are seeing from, say, a man or a woman that hasn't come in, hasn't got title over your life, that is the time they are being in their best behavior. I have this common question I ask. I say, tell me the place to see an employee's best behavior. And the answer is at the interview for that job. So if you are seeing any signs at the interview, it's going to get worse. So when you see that, don't say, oh, he's going to get better. He's going to get better. If you see any signs, and I believe that everything is taking you, your parental upbringing, your societal relationships, your past relationships, is taking you, you are almost like an AI in human form, doing pattern matching, seeing examples of things that always don't go right. Believe yourself. That is the time to engage those things. And if it's not working for you, that's the time to begin to point it out. Another quick thing I would like to say, which I think we see in counseling rooms, and by the time we're now doing counseling in marriage, it's too late to now say, sister, run, brother, run. Is you meet this person, you have your yardsticks, your criteria for what you are looking for. But one of the things we are not looking for is, when this pretty woman gets all wrinkly, would I still love her? When this young man that has potential and promising misses 2 salaries, would I still love him? The Bible says I should submit to my husband. Does he look like somebody I'll submit to for the next 15 years? Because if he doesn't, I will suggest to you, don't marry a man you know you can't respect and then come argue with your pastor why you should be submitting. Don't marry him. Don't marry a woman you know you won't love unconditionally. And come and say, does the Bible really mean I should love my wife? Have you met my wife? It's post-mortem of something that we should see the red flag early and begin to question it. So in summary, red flag from him or from her, and red flag from yourself. If it's not something you can do when conditions vary, don't start. One of the problems we have from society is that we so rate marrying very quickly above the need to find the person with whom it will work out for you. I think we should change that order. Finding the person with whom it will work out for you should be higher in priority than finding one quickly just because my age mates are getting hitched.
Interesting. So just on that point, finding the right person, what I'm actually finding, what I'm actually seeing now is that people are taking longer to, settle or to find that right person for a number of different reasons. So I don't know if it is because they've been cautioned to, pause, wait and find the right person, or the economic situations that we find ourselves where people are looking for someone who is going to take them out of poverty or who is going to provide for them. What do you think is causing more people either to remain single or to take longer to be married?
Good question too. You're right. The reasons are many, but what is more common in our society today is that comparatively, if you go back 100 years, 50 years, the woman was traditionally a homemaker, a nurturer. The man was the hunter-gatherer, the breadwinner, the provider. So when a young woman is biologically up to the age of having babies and being a homemaker, she's ready to be married. But over the years, since the Industrial Revolution, the woman's responsibilities to her household included also being economically active in a go-to-work way.
Kind of way.
Not just support your
Working
husband.
Outside the home.
Exactly. So the woman now needs to also be positioning herself for economic activity. For instance, go to school to be able to earn a living, go and actually start working. There are many men, which is also a scam. I didn't cover this scam in the book, but there are many men who won't marry you until you gain the admission to the university. Some who want to marry doctors won't propose to you until, in fact, I will tell you, I used to teach in medical school.
Yes, I know.
The number of engagements that happen after girls pass second MB.
Wow. Really?
Because after second MB exams, they get a break. Second MB is a very intense exam, probably arguably the most intense medical exam. After second MB, we send them home, for about 2 months to just cool their head and come back. Those who pass will come and start going to the clinicals. In that short 2 months, people are coming back with all shapes and sizes of engagement ring. Great. And poor me will be saying, oh my God. So they won't tell you, I'm not getting engaged to you because I know you're not going to be an economic drag. You'll be supporting my ministry of. So those are some of the things that make it harder for girls to now get married too early. The second problem is that the obligations of the young man, I think, the second predominant problem, is that the obligations of the young man are also increasing.
Agreed.
The middle class, our politicians and our overlords have made the middle class almost non-existent.
Yep.
It was enough to become a graduate and you can support wife and children. The young man is now going to look for more ways to be able to support his family. So when he's 24 or 25 and is able to marry, he still needs to go make quite a bit more money, and he's working a little longer, he's amassing a bit more, and the requirements for the cost of wedding, the cost of everything is rising. And so a man begins to ask himself, am I ready? And most of the time for a young man in his late 20s, early 30s, the answer will continue to be no, I'm not. In fact, the majority of women I meet are the ones who nudged their fiancés to start the process of getting married. Boys just feel that they are not quite ready. It's the girls that would say, do it already. My biological clock is ticking and you're here telling me you're not ready.
I'm talking about readiness, right? In addition to the pressure, economic pressure from the society, and the man not feeling that he's able to take care of the immediate family, that also includes the pressure from the extended family.
Absolutely.
Well, like, if you go marry now, who will be taking care of us?
Absolutely.
You are the second dad.
And it's on both sides.
Yes, right? So please talk to us a little bit about that, because I have another exciting question.
Very well. The average dad and the average mom will want their son to get married. They won't say, we get all this from you, so don't marry yet. They want their son to marry, they want their son to build a house, to buy a car. The parents want that, the average one. On the other side, the average dad and mom, because they love their children, right? Even though the daughter is working and supporting them, they're enjoying that support. But they don't want their daughter to remain unmarried for too long, because it's also a stigma to their family. Oh, your daughter is unmarriable. She has a PhD, but she can't find a husband. So they want them to marry. What usually becomes a problem is that the cost of actually getting married is becoming so high. And as the economic problem worsens, the cost, the expectation of what you have to do to be married is not responding, it's not adjusting down. It's actually going up as if you have to become social services for all of us who can't afford our daily bread. So if you're coming to marry our daughter, we're going to practically skin you alive. It now goes back and worsens the things we discussed earlier, the guy's readiness, his wife's readiness, and it just continues. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, we're going to get back to that because I'd like to know later the role, culture, our culture, from the, the different cultures we come from, the role that is playing in the marriage. But now I want us to talk about roles, because we're talking about when love is a scam. A lot of women feel that they are having to work outside their home and also having to do much more of the roles in the home.
Yeah.
And men also feel they are not being valued enough for, having to go out there, do all the work and bring back the money and all that, right? How are roles, how are couples establishing roles within the marriage, and how is that impacting, right? Should roles be like, okay, there are roles for women, there are roles for men, or should it be case by case, depending on the family? Or what do you have to say to that?
Okay, thank you, Ezzy. I believe, and I argued in the book quite extensively without boring anybody, that there are role expectations in every organization where humans want to operate without knocking heads all over the place. The place of work, at your church, at your social gathering, there's a president, there's a treasurer. In the home, it wouldn't even make sense that we think there's no role expectations. There are. In fact, the role expectation in the home is actually endorsed by biology. If you are walking in the forest, let's go to the primordial man. If you're walking in the forest with your husband or with your wife and a lion jumps out, you wouldn't expect him to be the one doing and she being the one doing you would expect the other.
That's right.
The reverse.
Yeah.
Let's bring it to the modern day. If you look closely, the people that raise the role expectation problem more often is the women who feel overwhelmed by some things they will have to do in the home, in addition to working. And I agree that every person should help their spouse. A part of the language of loving somebody is that when you see them suffering and you can lift a finger to reduce the suffering, it flows automatically as a consequence of that love. However, when you also come into that home and you begin to listen to some of the conversations, we may use doing dishes or sweeping the floor or cleaning the dust from the table as a proxy fight of some other unexpressed angst. When you start hearing you work and I work, there is some disrespect that's already going on. There's an underlying discontent that's going on. Because if you take it back to say, there was a young woman I was reminding that her mother actually worked.
Yeah.
She's like, no, my mom was able, because I had to say, did your mom make your dad do dishes? So she could feel helped. So no, because my mother was, actually, I don't know your mom, but she worked. In fact, she worked a lot. She worked the farm. And the compound where we come from, you have to pull up the weed by hand. And the men swept the driveway, and women swept the women and their children swept the ground within. Women went to farm. They farmed cocoyams a lot. Men owned yams and women owned cocoyams. Women went to the market and traded. Women went to the river and fetched water. Women went to the river and washed clothes. Women went to the river and harvested and cleaned cassava. They ferment and clean cassava. Women pounded palm kernel for oil and press it. Men just tap palm wine and cut the palm. So there were role expectations from there. Now, when we bring it here, we kind of say, he doesn't help me to do this, doesn't help me to do that. And again, let me underline, when your partner is saying, help me, the immediate response is, how can I help? That's what it should be.
That's a good one. How can I help?
Yes.
What do you need?
Yes. When we begin to use it as a proxy fight for something, for disrespect, for I don't think I should be earning 50% of the income and you're not doing 50% of the work. Work as defined by her. That is when I come in my role and say, there are many things he does in this house that are unspoken.
Yeah.
A man will not come to this house to talk nonsense to you as if you were a single girl because of him. Number two, when the hinges of the door are creaky, you don't even think about sharing the work. You say, Daddy, that hinge, I don't know. The plug, the tire had punctured and you need to put a jack and change it, and the gas is leaking, plumbing is having a problem. Somebody has to climb under there to check it's blocked again. The lawn needs to be mowed and the snow needs to be. And I'm not saying that men do it all the time. I'm just saying that there's an expectation that if I come to your home today and your wife's car is not working, I'll say, bro,
what are you doing?
Have you checked the plug? Go clean the plug from your wife's car. Because it's your role as a man. And we don't actually argue about this. When there's a tree by the side of your house that is growing and then a branch is going to harm your roof, I come to your house, I'm going to say, bro, won't you climb up and kind of cut off that branch? It's going to hurt your roof. It's your role as a man. If your wife should climb the tree and start cutting that thing, I'll be like, Oga, what's up?
Yeah.
We accept this. But when we now come and we say the dishes in the kitchen are full and the house is a bit smelly because of food, and we say, Madam, why you know? So because I'm a woman, you expect me to be the one doing the dishes? Okay, there are role expectations. People should help one another, but there are role expectations. And why I think that many of them are proxy fight is that sometimes you see a family where children are grown up, like 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old. They are playing video game, and auntie is accusing her husband of not helping to do the dishes. So I think the approach is remind us that we have roles. Remind us that we should all be helping one another. That's one of the most prominent languages of love. And then remind us to please don't use the things that are easy to understand to fight proxy war about things that are harder to talk about.
Understand. Wow. Yeah. Uncle P, we are out of time, but I want to thank you. We're going to have to continue this because I have many more questions that I have to ask you. And so we are going to have to continue this next week. Now, if you have questions, you have questions about, what we've talked about, marriage, life, living, singlehood, or anything else that we've talked about, put it in the chat because we're going to come back and Uncle P will be able to answer all those questions for you. So put your questions in the chat and you might just be lucky to have your question picked and an answer will be given to your question. Okay. So I want to say thank you for joining us. Remember, I host a marriage mentorship class. You'll find ways that you can participate and join and be part of the class. And if you have been following me, you know that I recently launched Zitco, where we help you with your finances, whether it's mortgage, whether it's investments or insurance. And we want to help you have, 360, 100% of everything together, not just marriage, but your finances as well. So if you want to know more about what I'm doing right now, you can just go to zitcoinc.com and you will find information on what I'm doing right now. And you can reach out to me for help with your mortgage, with your investments, with your insurance and things like that. But I do look forward to connecting with you again. here on this channel. And thank you for joining. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, subscribe, and click on that bell button so that you're notified when next I come online. And so till next time is goodbye and God bless from Single and Married with Ezzy. Bye-bye.